Time now for a check of the top business news stories. Our business editor, Kate Moody, is here. Hi there, Kate.
Hi, Tom.
The EU's vaccination programme has had a bit of a rocky start, shall we say, and it seems to carry on in that vein. But that's not stopping the bloc from considering a so-called vaccine passport. What's the latest?
Yeah, it'll be proof of inoculation against COVID-19, which could set the stage for travel restrictions to be lifted in Europe and around the world. On Wednesday, the European Commission is due to outline its vision for a digital green certificate, which would collate vaccine and test information. Even as countries around the world launch their own versions, though, the World Health Organization has warned governments to be exceptionally careful with vaccine passports, as Luke Schrago reports.
This is what could be awaiting German tourists this Easter, after its disease control agency removed the Balearic Islands from a list of risk zones last weekend. While Spanish citizens are still facing their own travel restrictions, Madrid was upbeat, particularly with tourism worth over 12% of the nation's GDP before the pandemic, and the idea of COVID travel passes now waiting in the wings.
Bajo ese marco y, por tanto, lo que queremos es, efectivamente, como usted bien indica, facilitar esa movilidad lo antes posible. Y, efectivamente, para determinados sectores es fundamental, como es el sector turístico.
Greece, too, has said it would welcome vaccinated tourists. However, with global vaccination programs still gaining pace, the World Health Organization doesn't yet think COVID passports are justified.
We have to be exceptionally careful, because right now we're dealing with a tremendously inequitous situation in the world, where the likelihood of you being offered or getting a vaccine is very much to do with the country you live in, very much to do with the level of wealth.
Other nations are moving on in their own way, with the US hopeful of a return to travel by July the 4th, and China, shut to most foreigners for a year now, easing up.
为了有序恢复中外人员往来，中方对已经接种中国生产的新冠肺炎疫苗，并持疫苗接种证明材料的外籍人员提供来华签证便利。
Beijing has for now only approved 4 of its own vaccines for domestic use, while struggling to have them accepted in the West with a lack of transparency over test data.
The UK, EU and Norway have signed an agreement on fishing quotas in the North Sea for this year. The trilateral deal establishes limits on cod, herring, pollock and other fish to be caught by fishing boats from those respective parties in 2021. Norway is outside the EU, but it is part of the European single market. It negotiates North Sea quotas with the bloc every year and now has to include the UK in those discussions. Catch limits were a key sticking point in Brexit trade negotiations between London and Brussels, and this deal is a step towards resolving some of those outstanding issues. Let's check in on the day's trading action now. The major European indices closed higher. The Frankfurt DAX was boosted by Volkswagen, whose shares jumped around 7%. Shares of AstraZeneca rose 3.5% in London, despite that wave of European countries suspending use of its COVID-19 vaccine. A mixed picture over on Wall Street. The Dow Jones lagging in the red after hitting record closes on Monday. The Nasdaq just crossing under the flat line in the last few moments there. Investors really shrugging off weaker than expected data on retail sales and factory output in the US. They're focusing instead on the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting, which kicks off today. Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. Users of the encrypted messaging app Signal in mainland China say their communications have been blocked today. The government said it had no information about those reports. Social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, and Google, have been blocked in China for years. Signal users said on Tuesday they were unable to send messages or make calls. Nokia is to axe up to 10,000 jobs over the next 2 years, or around 10% of its workforce. It's part of a cost-cutting plan, which will see the Finnish telecoms firm invest more in its research as it tries to cement its role as a key supplier of 5G technology. And Facebook has signed a deal to pay Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation for its journalism in Australia. The 3-year agreement covers some of the country's biggest newspapers, including The Australian and The Herald Sun, while a parallel deal was also done for Sky News Australia. It comes after a dispute over a new media bargaining law had led Facebook to temporarily block access to Australian news content last month. That's all the business news for now, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed. Kate Moody, our business editor. Thank you.